if you're a goal setter at the top of the year, great. We love to kind of do it throughout the year, but we have some thoughts that hopefully will make it really fun and easy as opposed to kind of adding any weight to your shoulders. Our goal is to take some weight off your shoulders. Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. We are your hosts, Erik, Orton.
And I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth and sailing. In 2014, we moved aboard a fixer-upper sailboat and bootstrapped a year sailing with our 5 kids, and it changed our lives forever.
We tell the whole story in our memoir, our book, 7 at Sea. On this podcast, we want to help you go from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time. If you like to set goals at the top of the year, this is a great episode for you. As Erik mentioned, we love to set them all year long, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it's been like for us this year in our goals. And you actually, Erik, you're one of those people who picked a word, or at least you picked a word this year. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've picked a word the past few years, and I honestly can't remember. I could look up what the ones were for previous years, but this year, I know for sure the word was atomic. I was reading James Clear's Atomic Habits going into the new year, and I just thought, that is it. Because atomic is, what I love about it is that it's a double meaning. It can be huge, high impact in the sense of like an atomic reaction or, like an atomic bomb. Something can happen at like a mega level. Mm-hmm. At the same time, atomic particles, electrons, they're all they're just invisible, they're
so tiny.
And so there's like the most minuscule particle is atomic. And so I love that it's like the smallest things that you do can lead to the biggest outcomes you can possibly imagine. And that's what I've fallen in love with this year, is this idea of, what are the small, consistent, I'll say daily, but then, regular actions that add up to the outcomes that I've wanted to create in my own life. And I might be able to talk about some of them, a lot of them, probably not, because they're personal.
Secret.
But I'll say this. I think one of the, and this is a cliche, one of the negative things about creating a goal, especially a New Year's resolution, is that you kind of create this burden. Like, oh, I'm going to get fit, or, oh, I'm going to, we're going to budget better, or we're going to, you name it, whatever it is, it can be, it's going to be good for you, but it's not going to be fun. Right?
It feels that way a lot of times.
A lot of times, New Year's resolutions and goals can feel like a drag.
I feel like I'm going to really knuckle down. I'm going to use my willpower.
I'm going to learn how to speak another language, or I'm going to practice hard and learn to play this instrument, or I'm going to
overcome myself and be someone else.
Yeah. And that doesn't really work that well for me. Okay, I'm going to go back to one of my favorite atomic habits that we've started and stuck with for years now. Mm-hmm. If you've been hanging out with us for any period of time, you know that we walk in the mornings. And there's a great book by Twyla Tharp called The Creative Habit. And I think the most important thing in the title is the word habit. That if you're going to be a kind of person, you have to do a kind of thing on repeat. Twyla Tharp, for those of you that don't know, is an incredibly accomplished choreographer. She has choreographed Broadway shows, runs her own dance troupe, all kinds of stuff. And this book had a big impact on me. And she talked about how she has created rituals and habits that put her in the mode of creating regularly, daily. And one of them is her morning ritual, where it goes like this. She puts on her shoes and steps outside. Full stop. That's the end of the ritual. Where it goes from there is she then gets in the elevator, goes downstairs, goes outside, catches a cab. The cab takes her to the gym. She does a workout. She then goes from the gym to the studio, where she runs a few classes in the morning, choreographs, works, takes a lunch break, and then after lunch, she then dives into her emails and administrative work, blah, 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 blah. So that's her routine, but her habit is to wake up, put on her shoes, and walk outside. And so Emily and I was wanting to get fit at the time, and I decided that my habit was going to be to wake up, put on my shoes, and step outside. And it has grown since then. Did we walk today, Emily?
Yes, we did. And I feel like the habit has, we always do it. And in different seasons, it looks a little bit differently. At first, we just got outside with our shoes and we said, maybe we should walk across the street. And now that we're out here, maybe we should walk around the park, now that we're out here. And at some point, it got to where we would walk up this hill and you would do all these push-ups and yoga poses and balance moves. And I would do like jumping jacks and I would do push-ups on a bench. And then anyway, it's just changed over time. And now we just do the walk and then we split up and separately do whatever else, strength training from there. But it's always you got to get your shoes on and whatever, if you need a jacket, or sometimes we're out there in like snow pants and heavy winter coats and ski goggles, but we're always just got to get outside and go for a walk.
I'll literally describe today.
Yeah. Okay.
We woke up. My alarm went off at 6:30. It was dark. Sky is starting to lighten, but went downstairs. You were already downstairs. You got out of bed before me.
I'm starting a new habit to meditate for a few minutes every morning.
So well, good for me to know. Okay. So I don't want to interrupt you. So go downstairs and I check the temperature and it's cold. So I'm like, okay, snow pants, coat, get dressed. And just as we step outside, the sky is lightening enough that we probably don't need a headlamp, but I have a headlamp anyway. We walk in the cold. We talk. We're out for about 45 minutes.
And I started going fast, like we're going to get up this hill, and remembered this isn't a fast walk.
The goal is not to get our heart rate up. We do eventually, but man, I start slow. So I guess the only reason I'm sort of going on about this is that it's something that started, I don't know, like 2015, 2016, maybe earlier than that.
Yeah, that's about when it started. Yeah, like 2015, 2015. I used to always walk you to the car on your way to work. And then you were getting less fit and you wanted to get fit. And you read this rituals book and you wanted to go for a walk together in the morning. And I wanted to also, because it would be good for our bodies, good for our minds, and good for our relationship. It seemed like one thing we could do that would hit so many big areas that we cared about in our life. So we just started doing it. I
guess I just say that because if I started in 2015 and we're going into 2025, that's a solid 10 years.
Go us.
Go us. Fist bump?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So this is what I mean by atomic. Like getting your shoes on and stepping outside is so manageable. I don't care, all right, maybe if you like...
There's going to be some exceptions and you'll know who you are.
You know who you are. But for most of us, putting on your shoes and stepping outside your front door is very doable. And yet it can lead to mega results, results that I'm super grateful for in my life. And so I've really enjoyed this year trying to find very easy goals, very easy. Because here's what I've learned is that if you make it easy enough, you start.
Oh, that's one of your tricks. One of the things you started doing was instead of writing down to do the task, you would put start the task.
Yeah.
Or the objective.
For sure. So yeah, take whatever you want to, what's on your to-do list and put the word start in front of it. And then as soon as you do anything, you can in good conscience cross it off, which is really fun.
But plus once you start, you go in a little further and a lot of times you finish. But if you don't, you're like, hey, I started and now I'm going to put continue.
Yeah. And then the next day, if I didn't finish it, then I write the word continue and then I write the thing. And it feels really good to, in good conscience, cross it off. Mm-hmm. And so starting something has been, find very easy goals, embarrassingly easy goals, and just start making it a habit, because this is what I think is really at the heart of it. And James Clear's book is so good. If you haven't read it, give yourself the gift of reading this book. I highly recommend it. We'll put a link in the show notes.
I actually have the Atomic Habits Journal and the Atomic Habits Workbook, both stacked on top of my little pile of work things to do.
I saw it on the table this morning, and I was like, I didn't even know you had that.
We have all the Atomic Habit things.
All right. So here's the fun thing, is that it's easy. When you make it easy, it's fun. And when it's fun, you keep going. And the cool thing...
Can you just say that again, please? And maybe if you're listening, you want to like change the speed to slower or something. It'll sound very dramatic.
When it's easy, it's fun. And when it's fun, you keep going.
There you go.
So make it easy, let it be fun, and it will continue. And here's what it's at. James, Mr. Clear. What should I call him? Mr. James Clear? Just James. We're on a first name. Yeah. James and I will someday be friends, and so I'll just start using first name now. He talks about evidence, and that we don't believe ourselves when we don't have enough evidence to back something up. That's why it's so important to start with something small and start building a case for yourself. Because once you started to do something and you do it enough times, you believe yourself, which is huge. You believe yourself because you say, look, I have all of this evidence. I'll give you another example. Around this same time, I decided we were writing a book. I was trying to write 7 at Sea. I wasn't getting very far before Emily and I started running it together, but I took a page out of another book called, I'm blanking. It's like Habits and Rituals, Daily Rituals. It's called Daily Rituals, and I'm blanking on the author's name. But he shares the daily habits of great accomplished people. Albert Einstein, Roosevelt, authors, thinkers, inventors, blah, 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 blah. And the one that just like punched me in the face was Ernest Hemingway. When he was a writer, for those of you that don't know, Ernest has written a few books, and he says, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically I write down my word count every day as to not deceive myself. When he writes, he's able to put the total word count down. Whatever the number is, the number can be 0, or it can be whatever he wrote for the day, but he always knows how many words he wrote that day. And I still do that. I know that I've written over 2 million words. I could pull up my little tracker today and tell you exactly, but because I know that I have written over 2 million words since I started tracking, I can say confidently, I am a writer, because I have so much evidence to prove it. Do I have zeros? Yes. Do I have a lot of zeros? Absolutely. But I also have so much evidence that proves that I am a writer. So I can say that. And it's become part of my identity.
You feel really confident in that. And a lot of times when we talk about it, we call it credibility. And we before this book came out, James Clear, I remember seeing it the first time. We were in a bookshop in New York, and I was like, ooh, this looks good. He's talking about the same stuff that we talk about. Take small steps, be consistent, make it a life change, and then it can become like this transformative effect in your life. And so I loved it. And it's so great these are true principles. And if he put it in a way that makes sense to you, then that's worth it. Sometimes you have to read it from a few different angles. And also it's so easy for us to get distracted that it's good to have reminders. I love what you're saying. Like, take the small steps, so easy that they're doable. When we do it, it's fun. And then when it's fun, we keep going. And that's how we get this huge body of evidence that we can start saying, my actions speak to my character, to who I am. Yeah, I have 2 million written words because I am a writer. Not me, but you. Yeah.
Well, I want to speak to what you just said about who I am to your character, because this is actually at the very center of it, is shifting our identity.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we build up a body of evidence, we then can alter who we believe we are, which is actually the most important thing. And you and I talk about this when we keynote, and people say, you know, what was the hardest part about going sailing? It was believing that I could sail or that I could become a sailor, because that felt totally, you know, for some people it's not a problem, but for me it was like, that's another world. I don't know anything about that. I'm a foreigner in that land. I don't belong there. But the process of changing our self-identity is actually the main way and the best outcome of our habits. We can change our habits based on how we see ourselves, and we can see ourselves differently based on our habits.
Yes, that's so true. That's another repeat.
We can change how we perceive ourselves based on our habits, and we can change our habits based on how we perceive ourselves.
It goes around and around, but you can hack it. You can say, this is what I value. This is the kind of person I want to become. So I'm going to do this tiny little habit, and I'm going to become that kind of person. And you just do that habit until you meet up with who you felt you wanted to be all along.
And when we coach, we talk about our credibility score. You were mentioning credibility a second ago. I'm happy to talk about it unless you want to dive in on credibility.
No, go ahead. I just like this, how we're seeing that the credibility and the character and what kind of weave together. And that's the real thing, is not to white knuckle a goal, but to become a person who easily does the things the kind of person you want to be does.
Yeah. And I think we all know what our credit score is. Our FICO score. Is it FICO or FICA? I can't remember.
I think FICA is a tree.
Yeah. So let's go with FICO. Anyway, or you know what your tree score is? One of the two.
My tree score is very low. Cannot keep a plant alive.
So everybody has a sense of what their FICO score is, or maybe, I don't want to say you should, because maybe you shouldn't care, but anyway, it's out there. It's in the world, whether you like it or not. It can be 0, it can be 900, whatever. And yet we have a credibility score that only we know what that number is. And our credibility score is the ratio between the things we say we'll do and the things that we actually do. To repeat, your credibility score is the ratio between the things you say you'll do and the things you actually do. And the more that those are a 1-to-1, the higher your credibility score, and the further those are away from 1-to-1, the lower your credibility score. And I'm sure we've got a whole podcast episode about this, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So just Google or search credibility if you want to listen to the episode where we deep dive into that. But the point is that when we do the things that we say we're going to do, our credibility goes up, and it's a huge boost for morale, and we start to perceive ourselves differently. You will perceive yourself differently when you do the things you say you'll do. And there's a cool few benefits. One is that other people will believe you when you say you do, when you say what you're going to do. They believe that you will do it. And two things happen there. One is people will cheer you on, because everybody likes to cheer for somebody that they actually think has a chance of succeeding. As much as we love underdog stories, you want to cheer for somebody who has a fighting chance, and you do. And the other thing is that when other people believe you, resources will flow to you. That can be in the form of money. Like if you have a high credit score, people are more willing to loan you or lend you money. If you have a high credibility score, people will give you resources, and that can be their time. It can be introductions and connections. It can be money. It can be resources.
People want to get on a moving train.
People want to get on a moving train. So if you become a moving train, people want to get on board. So, okay. So that's why I love this idea of atomic. And because it's about changing our identity based on very easy, simple, repeatable actions that become habits, that become routines, that become a self-identity. So one thing that we would like to share with you is a very easy, simple way to kick off your year, that if you want to have a New Year's resolution, absolutely. But we like to do what are called New Year's firsts. And again, if you've been hanging out with us for more than 1 year, you might have heard this before. Do you want me to explain it? Do you want to take a whack at it?
I'll take a whack at it. A New Year's first, instead of setting a goal that you're planning to continue on and on, like Erik was saying, talking about the benefit of habits and becoming a new person, this gives you like a very short goal that you can do it and you've achieved it. Or rather, whether you want to call it a goal or intention, is something you're interested in trying. And then you do something that you haven't done before. And
that's it.
Once you've done it, it's done. And you now have in that thing a 1-to-1 say-do ratio. I said I was going to try, Thai food or whatever it might be, and then you did it. Now you can mark it off. And the beautiful thing about it is how good it feels to have a success, to do what you say you're going to do. And then that opens up the way to do that some more. But that's what we found, is that it keeps us feeling, our minds feeling young and curious and humble and open and teachable. And then you can say, I'm the kind of person who tries new things. And then you say I'm the kind of person who says I'm going to do something and then does it. And you can have a very quick win, a quick success. And even if you try the new thing and you don't like it, you're still someone who does what they say they're going to do and someone who tries new things.
You still win.
You still win.
Even if you never do it again in your whole life, it's still a win, because the goal or the plan was to just try something you've never done before. And so Emily and I, we have our wedding anniversary right at the top of the year. And so we've made a habit of doing something that neither of us have done before. And it can be as simple as trying Thai food, although we've both tried Thai food.
Yeah, I was thinking like time.
We went to a yoga class.
Yeah, we went to a yoga class. We toured a submarine.
And I'd never been to a yoga class, and it was a little bit weird.
It was a little weird. It was actually kind of weird.
It was probably one of the weirder yoga classes we've been to.
Definitely.
But we've done a lot of yoga since then and realized that doesn't have to be weird.
It doesn't have to be weird.
That dude sat on you, or did he sit on me?
You were next to me. He sat on me.
Anyway.
So weird. Okay. Yeah. Why don't you bring it home for us?
Okay.
Heading into this.
So as we wrap up with 2024, I hope that you will take some time to reflect on your year. Do a little journaling. If you're not a journaler, make an exception.
That could be the new thing you try.
Try journaling one time.
One time.
And then think about what you might want to have happen in 2025. And oh man, I could go on about this so much. Don't even figure out how you're going to do it. Just figure out what you want to have happen or come into being in your next year, and just write it down.
Actually do a challenge of not at all writing, to completely avoid writing how it might happen.
Yeah,
only say what.
Don't write how. Oh man, don't even try and figure out how you're going to do it. Just write it down and go crazy. Go bonkers, like so big.
Or atomic.
Go atomic. Go mega atomic on your goals and just write it down, and then just play with it. Because you know what'll happen? Another favorite book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Maxwell Maltz. Terrible title.
I mean, when you know what it means, navigation.
It means mental navigation. So those two books, Psycho-Cybernetics and Atomic Habits, if they had a child,
that's going to be what you write.
That's going to be the book I write. So stay tuned. You heard it here first. This is like the audible version of me writing it down, saying it out loud. Anyway, write it down and then just play with it. And then maybe pick something that you want to do that you've never done before and try it. Do a New Year's first. Maybe set resolutions and goals if you want, but give it a go. Just do something you've never done before one time. Let that be it. It's fun. It's easy. And then if it's easy, and then if it's fun, you'll keep going. So that's it. That's it for me. Anything else, love?
Yeah, I just looking into 2025 as you write that journal or as you ponder it in your mind, the play with the idea of inevitable success, ask yourself, what could go right?
Hey there, before we sign off, I'll just give you the sailing update. I'll keep it short and sweet. Basically, between now and the end of the year, you can use a promo code to get $500 off trips that we're doing to the Mediterranean next year. So if you're booking a cabin for 2 people and you want to get a discount, you got to sign up to talk with me first, or just email me if we already know each other. But if you book and you use code EARLYMED 2025, you'll get $500 off a cabin for 2 people. So sign up for a call or drop me a line. Let me know. That discount applies to Italy in June, Greece in July, and Croatia in August. It's first come, first serve. It's good till the end of the year or till the trip sells out, whichever comes first. We are doing other trips after that. So if you want to go to Mexico, the Bahamas, or the Caribbean in the fall of next year, we do have space available. Pretty much everything else is booked out. We've got one trip to the Bahamas that's got space, March 31st through April 5th. So if any of that's of interest to you, let me know. Or if you want to jump on one of these med trips for early booking, you can get a $500 discount if you're booking for 2 spots. So that's the word. Hope to see you aboard.